This memory palace for French verb conjugations lets you literally walk around inside the verbal system of French. By learning your way around this space and creating mnemonic images and stories for each location, you can master French verbs quickly and retain the information long term. Let me show you how this works. Let's say you're learning the verb être, meaning to be. That's in this room here. For each pedestal, we create a mnemonic to remember the information stored at that place. You can either use the pre-chosen mnemonics by simply dragging them onto the pedestals, or create your own mnemonics based on your own associations. Once we've chosen our images, we make a story to connect them together. For example, one day I melted some Swiss chocolate to make a Spanish-style hot chocolate. I forgot about it though, and pests came into my kitchen, attracted by the smell of the delicious chocolate. Swiss chocolate reminds me of je suis. Spain or the Spanish hot chocolate reminds me of tu es, since ES is the abbreviation for Spain, España. And the pest reminds me of il, elle, on est, because it is spelled with EST. For this memory palace, you really want to use mnemonics that help you remember the spelling of the words and endings. These examples are just my mnemonics. In filling out this memory palace yourself, you can use either our suggested mnemonics or add your own images and create your own stories. The more ridiculous, the better, because then it will be both playful and memorable. This room contains all the information you need to learn the entire conjugation of être. Since the room is quite bare, this may seem impossible, so let's step back and let me explain how this space works as a whole and take you on a tour to show you what's included. This is Linguisticator's map of French. It contains all the patterns, variations, and exceptions of French grammar. This portion at the bottom contains the regular and auxiliary verbal system. All of this material is explained in detail in our online course in French. I'll put a link in the description, so please check that out if you are not familiar with how verbs work in French. It's going to be tough to use this memory palace without first understanding the underlying system. That said, let me give a sweeping overview of French verbs. Within the regular and auxiliary verbal system of French, we have 3 regular conjugations, plus the reflexive and passive, which are also regular. These 5 tables are in green. We then have the key auxiliaries and modals, which are in yellow because they are irregular. So, we have 5 regulars and 6 irregulars. Each table is structured in the same way, containing indicative, subjunctive, conditional, and imperative moods and non-finite forms. Looking at the system as a whole can be daunting. In total, there are about 1,000 forms to learn, and you need to be able to produce these actively if you want to use French fluently. This is a lot more manageable than it seems when you do it using space. All you have to do is explore this memory palace and learn your way around to be able to produce all of the forms in all of the tables. What we're really talking about here is learning the system of verbal endings. By removing the stems from the verbs, we can see the similarities and differences between the endings. Most of the endings are the same or similar between conjugations, even the irregulars. This means we can take the most common endings from all conjugations and create what we call the key. This is the only complete table you need to learn. Once you have the key, you just need to learn where and how each conjugation is different. This is what we get when we arrange the map in space in our memory palace. We have our key here in this room. The key is the only room that is completely full. After learning the key, you can learn être, the verb to be, and avoir, the verb to have. Notice how few pedestals there are in each of these rooms. With the key mastered, there's very little left to do to learn even these highly irregular verbs. We then have the 3 regular conjugations, ER, IR, and RE verbs. Again, you can see how relatively empty these rooms are. We pass through then to the modals. Devoir, Pouvoir, and Vouloir. Then we have, down this little alley, the verb aller. Finally, we go back towards être, and we have another room behind it containing the reflexive and the passive. This is because both the reflexive and the passive take être as their auxiliary. There is also a room with the verbs of motion in French that take être instead of avoir as the auxiliary. Each room is structured to contain the details of each conjugation. We have 4 zones for the 4 moods: indicative, subjunctive, conditional, and imperative. With the imperative, we also include the non-finite forms. Each tense is represented by a cluster of 6 pedestals. The 3 in the back are for the singular, first, second, and third person, and the 3 in the front are for the plural, first, second, and third person. Simply use the suggested mnemonic images or create your own associations to make a mnemonic hook to help you remember each ending. then tie the endings together with a story, as you saw at the beginning of this video. In total, there are only about 100 mnemonics you need to create in order to learn the entire regular and auxiliary verbal system. Even simplified and streamlined in a space like this, learning the entire regular and auxiliary verbal system of French can seem daunting. You still need to understand how the system works, so please remember that we go through all of this in detail in our online course. The important thing here is to see how sparse the space is. How long would it take you to learn your way around? If you use the suggested mnemonics, you can complete the entire system in just one day. This memory palace is available to download from Munx VR's store. Munx VR is Linguisticator software for building memory palaces in 3D and virtual reality. If you have a compatible VR headset, you can not only see this memory palace on a 2D screen through the desktop application, but also explore it spatially in virtual reality. You can literally walk around the verbal system of French. Please see the description below for more information on Munx VR and on our online course in French. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more videos on memory palaces and languages.